Hi, welcome back to the Innovative Leadership Series at the International Leadership Association Conference. Today we're joined by Aldo Boitano. Aldo, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Chilean by birth, but my first language I learned was German because we moved to Germany as a little kid, then back to Spain, then back to Chile, then to the US as an exchange student, 7 years in the US, and now back to Chile. And I'm traveling at least once or twice a year to the US to teach or visit family or friends.
How many languages do you speak?
4: English, German, Spanish, and according to my dad, nonsense.
So I want to ground our interview in the leadership competency of intellectual versatility. The work we had published by ILA last year in the Leader 2050 book looked at 7 leadership competencies we think are required going forward in a more complex world. Let's start with, why does mountaineering help you be a better leader? Because that's going to seem a bit like a non sequitur.
My background, or your original background, is industrial civil engineering. In Chile, we study 6 years. That means you go for the bachelor degree and then the master's degree all together. And no one stopped studying at the bachelor degree. Year number 5.5, I organized something called Breaking the Squares. Out of 800 students that enrolled every year in the various engineering fields, we had guys who were famous pianists, guys who were Olympic wrestlers, me who was a climber, people who paint, poetry, and it was a lot of art and a lot of other things. And I keep finding that over and over again. So long story short, I got my degree because it allowed me to do mountaineering. I did one day the other way around. I have a dad who was awarded the presidential award for being the most outstanding engineering graduate back when he graduated on a mechanical engineering. Lots of relatives in my family were famous for their technical side of brain. So I said, maybe I'm not that bright. Back then also organized poetry contests and things. But then in life, in working life, and I realized that the ability to overcome difficulty, positive view on life, even though I lost my dearest friends because of mountaineering, they died at ages. And a lot of emotional, personal, and social are important to succeed in life. I've been the CEO of a large ski area, the CEO of a company that sold mining equipment and things like that. Now I'm independent, like I said. But all those things are much more important, and I know you teach at an engineering school, are important for succeeding in life. Of course, there's the work of Goleman or emotional intelligence, a lot of things devoted to soft skills, but in engineering curriculum, not much. Who was an effort on the side. So that's what I like about ILA, the diversity, the fact that they're trying to be global, the fact that they're reaching out, the women's work, how impressive the series of books and meetings and webinars, women, and I'm just trying to make that.
Yeah. Let's talk first about mountaineering. So when we say mountaineering, you're talking serious. You're not talking the thing I did.
I've been in various expeditions all over the world. But the reason I really like mountaineering is just exactly somebody who will come to a conference and say, there's nothing I could learn. I was bad at mountaineering, and I love the fact that with patience, with hard work, I could do well. I was not famous, but a good swimmer, and in other sports I was good. But I like the fact that you take day by day a big mountain like K2, world's second tallest mountain, and the most dangerous one, one of the most dangerous ones. We did a successful expedition back in 1996 without anybody being lost or dead. People who were close. And I've been in many other mountains like Mount Denali or McKinley in Alaska and else. But the fact that you take people out of the comfort zone, or you take yourself as an individual out of the comfort zone, and then once you're in that comfort zone, hopefully not in a panic zone.
Yeah, but sometimes that happens.
But in a conference, it won't happen. And then you say, well, this person out of arts, it's good. There's something to value it. There's something on ethics that I should add to what I preach in my company, or some of those tools. For some reason, when we kind of specialize, somebody said that the last book I wrote on management was the onboard son on the Greek philosopher and the treaty, and the book, forgot the name of the book, but it was a book written 2,500 years ago. And what I meant to that is, we as human beings have always been the same people. Maybe a long time ago, we didn't have 7 habits or 10 commandments. You understand?
Yeah.
And we had the same challenges, and it was a mix of physical challenges, of intellectual challenges, of social challenges, and sometimes you will address them individually or by family or by community. And nowadays it's just, okay, why do I need for my business to do good? to do other things. Why every time there's a crisis on ethics or reputation or this and that, then the people go back to these things. I think a conference like this, where people from different walks of life, famous consultants, famous professors, but also practitioners and people from other fields, it's good for your mind, for your life, for your business.
I attended my first conference in Barcelona last year. Back to this intellectual versatility. Hearing people from several European countries talking firsthand about the Syrian immigration and how their countries were dealing with it, not the stuff that was sanitized, and the real world challenges that we have precious people who are being persecuted. So how do we grapple with the ethics of sharing a planet where we have people who are being killed, and yet we don't want to go outside of our comfort zone? Where are the ethics there? Really, some of those conversations really stuck with me.
I remember getting into a room in Barcelona. I was with a group of guys who had started a foundation in Medellin, Colombia, to just pure reaction of a killing of a graffiti person or something.
Oh.
And they created a foundation to Arts Against Violence. But their presentation was with this timeline, on the political timeline, all the crisis in Colombia at the time, and their response every time. Every time there was some problem, like a and they will, instead of 200,000 people going, 500,000 people will go and do a music festival. And how they really recuperated their space, and how people who were against or for whatever guerrilla of the government, how they will bring themselves together towards art and towards peace and everything. And why? I don't know about this. Why in the news I only see one? Why?
Yeah.
It wasn't like trying to convert you into something. They're just presenting what they did, how they did it. They're still questioning that they have till today, their challenges they're facing. And it was like you said, keep bouncing on different rooms on different things.
And each of those gives me something to think about, that now when we have a negative impact to our company, the real world of someone kills themselves. I was in a session a couple days ago, and then one of our people left because one of the students had committed suicide. This is a real situation. What is the positive antidote? Because the suicide is a very real impact on the child, obviously, who's no longer here, the family, the students around them, the folks in the dorm. That ripples out. So are there things that we do that build positivity?
Back then, I was surprised. Remember the Coca-Cola index on happiness? For some reason, it gets on the news every once, and then they do a survey on happiness, and now United Nations. But Colombia was always top 10 all these years with all their problems. And some countries who don't have many problems, they're more not so happy. All I'm saying is mountaineering, when you get out of the comfort zone, you have the luxury of being an expedition, isolated and everything. Back then, even more, because without satellite phones and things do they have, or the luxury of taking a few days off and going to a conference and attending different worldviews, different conversations, really gets a perspective of the important things in life, where not that many, and they're fairly simple. And then for days you feel relief, and you kind of like going back to your company or to your daily life, you have like a way of acting or seeing things really clear from a different way. But then you get inside the forest, you get tangled up. You just, for me, every once in a while, to get out in the outdoors or going to conferences and listening to other people's points of view, round tables, whatever. It's a good way of re-energizing your life and your goals and try to do something. We actually presented a book, and it's called Breaking the Zero-Sum Game. And we collected tales from around the globe, from China, from Sri Lanka, from South America and US, kind of theories or ideas from colleges in the US. So the notion that why to win, you have to beat somebody. Why can you make things that everybody wins, and how that inclusive leadership was about. But it was eye-opening. And campus riots, Arab Spring, this is what Pope Francis, when he visited Obama, it was Angela Merkel dealing with the Syrian immigration. Those were the topics. The civil rights, the Dreamers Act, all those things happened in just in a 90-minute span with 13 people who spoke. I was like a world travel, history travel.
I work with a researcher who talks about the idea of positive deviance. What do we learn from those significant outliers on the positive side? And what do we learn from those individuals? So I want to shift gears only slightly, because everything we're talking about is sparking in me the idea of vertical development, that I make significant development not on my skills, but in my meaning making, only by going out of my comfort zone. And it is that either extreme discomfort, as in you're on a mountain wondering if you're going to die. For me, climbing Kilimanjaro, because I wasn't an athlete,
Yes.
you can't breathe very well. If you get altitude sickness,
It's cold up there.
well, and bodily functions just stop functioning. So all of those things, that you wouldn't think are leadership building, and yet
It's building your character. Yes.
one foot in front of the other. And my guide basically picked me up and said, 3 more steps, and then you can fall over. 4 more steps, and then you can fall. And that was how we hit the top.
That's how you climb a big mountain. One feet in front of the other.
That's how you write a book. That's how you run a company.
Yeah,
That's how you raise a child. To your point, there's some stuff that's totally novel and different out there that we have to understand. And then there's the basics. But all leaders have slogged through something that they didn't want to. It was painful.
They say it's good for your brain. And if you go to your workplace in the same route and day, you're not thinking. It's like driving. You're not.
Yeah.
You go a different way. If you have lunch instead of with the same people, so it's more like a challenge yourself. That's the metaphor behind mountaineering or coming. Challenge yourself for the sake of growth. Life is short.
Don't make it dull.
Yes. Try to amuse yourself. If somebody gives you a book and you read 3 pages and you don't like it, okay, don't give it back. Don't hide it in your closet. Try to give it a chance later on in life. And then, wow. It's more to the metaphor behind get out of the comfort zone, don't get in the past, or don't risk yourself. It's challenge yourself, because that's part of who you are, the character. I lived in the U.S. 8 years already, and in the various crimes. And I like the fact that the country as a whole challenges itself every once and then. 1980s, I was an exchange student on all the crisis with the car, the ride in Toledo, the crisis and everything.
Yeah.
And they came answers, management answers, and the Kaizen mode, or this or that. And then the country goes up again. Not only people, but countries as a whole sometimes need a challenge, need to get out of the comfort zone.
So let's wrap up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, so that mountaineering thing.
Yeah, you don't die most of the time. Nothing happens to you.
Yeah, now I say a good hiking trip is I bled and I got lost and I fought.
The best thing of going to the outdoors, you love your bed like you're never slept. You like your bed.
And your restroom.
Food, your restroom, showers.
Yeah.
Things you take for granted every day. You're so happy to see them back.
On that note, Aldo, thank you so much. It's been quite a delight.